Hi team, Coach Alexa here. I'm talking a little bit about sleep in this series of videos, and today I wanted to touch on the influence that our devices can be having potentially on our sleep. So by devices I mean mobile phones, tablets, iPads, computers, as well as to some extent to our televisions. So I think there are a couple of two broad categories where these devices can potentially influence our sleep. The first, I guess, is more of a physical one, and the second is maybe a little bit more mental, psychological perhaps. So let's talk about that physical one. So the first thing is that the phone screens, all our device screens, televisions to a slightly lesser extent, emit a type of blue light. So they have to emit a light in order for us to actually see what's on their screens. And as part of that, blue light is part of that spectrum that they emit and that we see. Now, the challenge with that blue light is that our brains associate that with sunlight and therefore daytime. So when we're seeing that blue light, whether it be from the sun and being outdoors or inside and looking at our phones, as far as our eyes and therefore our brain is concerned, it's daylight. So when you're perhaps looking at your phone for an hour or so, before bed, when your body and brain should naturally be going more into sleep mode, that emitted blue light can keep the levels of your awake hormone higher for longer and suppress the natural increase of our sleep hormones, which encourages to make some physical and mental changes that get us ready for sleeping and ensure that we sleep a little bit better. So you can kind of see why, using our devices later into the evening, closer up until bedtime, is going to potentially increase how quickly we are able to fall asleep when we do go to bed and the quality of the sleep that we may have, particularly in the first part of our sort of overnight sleep window. So there's a couple of, I guess, practical things like tech sort of options that can help with this. You can get special glasses that block out the blue light emitted from our devices. And screens. You can also sometimes get filters and settings on your phone to reduce the amount of blue light they emit for evening use. So that's a potential set of options. I must admit that my favourite option is just trying not to look at my phone. My computer is always switched off when I've finished work. I very, very rarely use my tablet. My phone goes on a shelf after we've had dinner, and I try not to look at it after that. Aware of the fact that that's not possible for everybody. But where possible, putting the phone away a good amount of time, a couple of hours ideally, before your normal bedtime should really help your sleep quality from that blue light perspective. I think as well there's another aspect though, isn't there? There's the sort of distraction aspect, the mental engagement aspect of phones. So a lot of apps and websites, but particularly social media, are particularly well designed to keep us using them, to draw us in, to keep us scrolling, to keep us refreshing, to keep us engaging. They're very, very cleverly done, using similar sort of behavioural tools and tricks as, gambling apps do to keep us using them. And that includes, exercise-based social media like Strava and other training tracking apps. If you're not paying for something with money, you're paying for something with your time. So they're encouraging you to use it more and more. So you see the adverts, so they earn more money. So I think there's potentially a kind of mental busyness component. If you've been scrolling and scrolling and scrolling through social media in the hour or two before bedtime, your brain is still in that mode of like information seeking and wanting to kind of find things out and almost follow these addictive like pathways of scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and clicking. That's not a calm place for your brain to be. So I'll talk in a future video about sort of bedtime routines, and part of that thing about bedtime routine is trying to find things that are calming, that allow both your body and brain to just unwind and settle, and that is shown to help get to sleep quicker and improve quality of sleep over time. So I think there's two sets of good reasons, that sort of physical blue light side of things, and then the psychological kind of how how relaxed is your brain feeling before you go to bed side of things. So, as I say, over the last year or so, I've been putting my work phone goes off and when I'm not working, and my personal phone just goes on a shelf after dinner on charge, and it stays there until after breakfast the following morning. So things to think about, things to be aware of, because I think awareness is always key to this one, knowing the potential impact that these devices could be having on your sleep and making your own choices about what you might do differently with that. Hope that's useful.